I'm going to give you a little peek at what me and Cole have been up to. Cole is a sophomore, going to be a sophomore this year at SDSU. He's an environmental science major. And he has an interest in cutting edge ways of doing things, and so we decided to build a hydroponic growing system for vegetables. And people will say the right hydroponic system done right, you can grow bigger fruit and vegetables, more abundant fruit and vegetables, but you may be giving up a little bit in flavor when it's not grown in dirt. And so we're going to run an experiment. Cole decided we've never seen somebody do this. We searched all over for reports where people have vaguely done something similar, but not very well. I know there's a lot of variables involved, but we got a 30-gallon tank. We have a hydro system that is running 2 banks off of 2 pumps. So in the system, we have 2 little creek pumps, or pond pumps. They're 300 gallon per hour flow rate, just real low draw. You see where they go in to plug in. And each one has an outflow line that pumps out towards the bottom of this tank, the reservoir. A variable flow valve. It goes up 90 degrees over, goes into this top 4-inch PVC tube, runs down it, and then you'll see where it is. Let me get my shoe fell off here. Where it's plumbed to go out just below the halfway mark, run into that one. You can see in there where the water's sitting. Let's see if we can get that. It's at about the half full mark. Runs down here. Then it's plumbed to come out. So it drops about 4 inches. And then on a downward slope, goes back in to the top side of the tank, and is returning then right there. That's the return flow of both the pumps. So, same thing here, we're pumping out the bottom. Got an adjustable flow rate on our valve to slow it down. Drops in. Now, these pumps will go up a total of about 6 foot in height. So this one's running at about 5 from where it comes out, where the pump is. We'd use the compression valve where you have a nut on the back side of a thread. You drill about a 3/4 inch or 1 inch hole, shove a 3/4 inch compression valve through it, and then we PEX plumbed everything, so you can see it crimped with a PEX valve there. But on the back side of that, screwed into that, is the whole pump body. So the pump's just mounted on the back side of the wall of here. It's about the size of your fist. We have 2 of them on each end. Runs up into here. This is a 7-footer, 4-inch PVC. Got it plumbed to come out the bottom, or the back end, come back into this one, and then it runs down this direction, drops down out of there, and then a downward slope returns it into the reservoir. So we're not using any dirt. Not in the hydro system. We are running water that we check with a pH tester and adjust it up or down to keep that in the range. And we are running a 10-5-15 liquid fertilizer nutrient in there at a rate of about 2 teaspoons per gallon. And our reservoir is running at about 25 gallons. Plus we got probably 2 gallons held in the tubes. So we're running about 50 teaspoons, or roughly 1 cup is 48 teaspoons. So 1 cup of our fertilizer mix in that water, it kind of turns a little yellow color, like almost like Mountain Dew. But when we first clean all the dirt off of our stock plants, you'll get a little bit that holds on, and over time that will dissipate. But look at the size of that root ball coming down. And what we do is we put some little pearl stones. I think they're made out of clay, but they don't dissipate and they won't wash through the slats of your net cups. So one of the things that we did is, when you're using 4-inch PVC and you cut a 3-inch hole saw hole, the net cups we had, you'd slide in there and they'd try to fall through a little bit. So we took a 3-inch piece of PVC and we cut little 1/8-inch wide slivers out of it so that we could put a net collar on each 3-inch PVC cup, and it holds it perfect. So any of you people that are doing hydro stuff, I know that's not a lot of people on my Facebook group, but people who maybe see this on my YouTube channel that are into the hydro systems, that's a great tip right there. If you're cutting a 3-inch hole in 4-inch PVC for a hydro system and you're having a problem with your net cup slipping through, getting awkward, and they're trying to tilt as they fall through there, cut some collars out of 3-inch PVC and it will hold them perfectly straight. And then we like I say, we use the little white perlite stones, or you can use the little mini clay balls. But you can see how this works. There is a root system that grows in that water. It doesn't need dirt. It gets all its nutrients out of that water. And we will run that 10-5-15 fertilizer mix in that water, nutrient base. It's a part A base in that water, and we'll switch to a part B once we start getting flowers and fruit on our plants. We switched the little bit different formula, but we'll run the 10-5-15 for now. So we'll look at what we got. We got a really nice poblano pepper plant. We've got salsarific jalapeno peppers. We've got a couple ghost pepper plants, and I do that because we're going to grow green beans, bush-like green beans, and I like to make canned dill green beans and put some hot peppers in them for my Bloody Mary friends. And then we also do dill pickles, and some of those will make them real hot. We've got some Carolina Reaper there. We've got, these are some great bell pepper styles, Chef Jeff's peppers. No, I did not come up with that, but got a couple of those. And again, you can see those roots. And we'll look at these in a couple of weeks. Those roots will be the size of my fist growing in there. We've got some mint julep, mint, and we've got some peppermint. And I use a lot of mint in the summer. I make mojitos and different bartending craft drinks that we use mint for. Some fresh salads we use mint for. Then we've got some early girl tomato plants. Again, You can see where they're just starting with their roots, but they're pulling all the nutrients they need out of this water base. Now, we'll change the entire reservoir weekly. In our first run here, you're going to see where we're going to get a little stuff settling on the bottom that's washing off of these roots. But in about a week after they've been in here, those roots will just be white. They won't have any of that dirt look filter in it. And when that happens, we'll empty that whole 25 gallons out, remix new fertilizer in it, turn it on, get them running, and after week 2, you won't see any of that settling in the bottom of your pipes. But one of the reasons we plumb these out at just below half off of that cap with a compression valve, and then we pex it down a couple inches and then over to the pump, so there's always a downward momentum. One of the reasons we do that is anything that falls off of here, if one of these little rocks slid through the cracks or whatever, it's heavy enough that it weights at the bottom and it slides to the end of this cap, and it's now sitting in the bottom of here like heavy gold. It's not going to run through and clog up your pump, so we don't have to worry about that. But we will rinse and clean out the tubes when we refill our reservoir in a week and turn it back on. So down here we've got big boy tomato plants. We got 5 of those, or 6 of those. We got 3 early girls. Showed you the peppers and the mint up here. We got some more pepper plants over here. We got sweet peppers growing over here. And one of the interesting things we're going to do is we have kept a plant of everything that we've planted here. We've kept one seed strain of those plants separate that we're going to grow in a very nutrient-based soil in some planters we threw together here. And we're going to test that. We're going to do blind tests with friends of ours, and we're going to have you taste an early girl tomato grown hydroponically in a nutrient base, and also one that's grown with topsoil and compost dirt in a very nutrient soil base. And if it's true what they say, we may have taller plants, we may have more abundant fruit on the vine, and maybe even the tomatoes are bigger than what we're growing out of the dirt. But they say the dirt ones will be more flavorful. But if we have you taste them in a blind taste test, and we do that with 50 people over time, we're going to test the mint and see if it's as pungent and fragrant. We're going to test the green bell peppers. We're going to take these Carolina Reapers that are grown hydroponically and ones that are in the dirt, and we're going to test the Scoville units. We're going to see if the capsaicin is more pungent and stronger in the dirt grown than it is here. We're going to check that with ghost peppers. We're going to see if your mildly spicy pepper like a jalapeno, is it hotter out of the dirt than it is hydroponically. The poblano peppers, the way that they cook, the way that they grill, the way they take a char, the flavor they develop. Is it the same grown out of dirt as it is hydroponically? The tomatoes, if you like me and you make salsa or sauces like marinara sauce, when you process your tomatoes to do that, is there more moisture in these than there are dirt grown ones? Do they retain more flavor? And we'll do the same thing with our sweet peppers. This is a pepper that really isn't hot or spicy. This has great flavor for stir fries and things. We want to test the flavor of those peppers out of the hydro system versus growing out of here. But over here, we're going to plant a wall of bush pickle cucumbers that's going to climb up all over this panel gate. And this is our old dog kennel we haven't used forever. We moved it around the corner on the sunny southern exposure side of the house. Over here, we're going to plant our control plants for the hydro system. And that way we can test them. Here we've got 4 big, huge, bearing strawberry plants we're going to plant. And I'm saving that last cup because we're going to plant 1 strawberry plant hydroponically and 1 here. Something completely different than a pepper or a tomato. Let's taste those flavorful strawberries and see, are they more flavorful out of dirt than here? They're getting probably a better controlled nutrient source out of this water, because we are micro-monitoring that, checking the pH every day, weekly changing the nutrient content in it, and yet we're not fertilizing the dirt. This is topsoil mixed with the manure compost. So it's a great nutrient rich, but we aren't adding a bunch of stuff to it. But will there be more flavor grown out of dirt than out of the hydro system? That's our goal, is to figure that out. And then right here, I was going to build another planter. Me and Cole's been building them out of I cut the lumber and he builds them just out of plain cedar planks we've got laying around and stuff. He's pretty quick at slapping those together. But these heavy-duty Rubbermaid bins at Menards, you can buy one for $6. I almost can't build a planter for that. But we've got a really rich nutrient-based soil in here, and we're going to plant a bunch of bush green beans, bush-like green bean plants in there. But we will do a video, about every week and give you guys an update on how our system's coming. We're really excited to see. You can see how we zip-stripped 1x6s, and I know it's stupid that I used oak for that, but that's what I had laying around, and my dad would roll over in his grave. He saw me using oak out here for that, but it's a hardwood and it's not too flexible. It can hold the weight. We bought those J-hooks at Menards. They can hold a lot of weight. We've got it set to where the outflow side here sits about a ½ an inch lower than the inflow side. So where this water's flowing in right here on this short 3-footer sits just slightly higher than where it flows out, because we have pump pressure feeding the water up the line into our system. That's coming in at a certain rate where that pump is, and we can adjust that rate on this valve here. We've got it turned down where it's not flowing in too fast, okay? But it flows in, and then by gravity, it's flowing out, because it's not pressurized in that tube. It's just the little bit of slope, and then that's built, the outflow is built a little hair less than halfway up. So when that tube's just under halfway full, it's draining out here in a trickle, gravity-wise, down into this tube, and it runs down here and drains out into our reservoir. But that's all done by gravity. And I can't speed or really slow that up if you're using a 1/2 inch PEX fittings and 1/2 inch PEX tubing. The flow is going to be what it is, depending on how high above your pump return or your reservoir return it is there. The higher it would be sitting up in the air, the more gravity flow you might have. But we've got to be able to change our adjustment on the inflow of water out of our reservoir into there to match roughly the rate that it flows out of it. Otherwise, you're going to gain water level in your tube and start overflowing. So that's why we put an adjustable valve on the outside. The pumps that are mounted on the inside of here do have a little adjustable rate capability to vary that, but it's just easier to do it on the outflow on a PEXed in valve here. So we can adjust the rate on both banks. On one bank we have 7-footer taking water in, goes down, flows down to the lower one, comes back, flows out back into our reservoir. That's running about 4 inches from the top there, you'll see. And again, you can see the rate that it's running back in. Okay. Those are matched to the rate that we're pumping it in with the pumps by changing this valve down to match that rate. Now, that sounds hard for Cole. It's kind of a geek thing that he just gets into, but for me, it wouldn't have been hard. It's not difficult to get that matched right, but that is our hydro system. We're excited. It's shady over here in the early morning, but that's north, that's west, and we get a lot of light over here come 10:30, 11 o'clock. It's beating down on it, and it gets nice and warm over here. Versus on the north side of the house, on the cement pad, you can see over there where the kennel used to be. Just works better here. Now I'll give you a peek at Cole's other project. He got a wild hair and bought a 1979 Porsche 924, and him and his friend Mitchell did all the body work on it. The interior is almost like dang near brand new. Got the Blaupunk stereo, everything time capsule right there. But this winter he'll take these SCCA type flares off the wheel wells and rebody work those. But got the history plate on it. But yeah, him and Mitchell got the car for around $1,000 from some barn in South Dakota here, and they had good glass, great interior. It started after an hour of tinkering with it there. They got it start. Gave the guy $1,000, and for about another 500, 600 in parts, they got it running. We're gonna put new tires on it next week, and he's got a brand new exhaust we're gonna put on it. And he's in love with it. He's all into the retro stuff, so he's excited.